Friends, today we are conducting another game analysis. Today we are analyzing an idle game about gas stations. Basically, it looks like this. First, I will ask our viewers to like, subscribe, and if they have any questions, not to hesitate and ask them in the comments.
Today I will be in a slightly different format. Let's see how it actually turns out. I just recorded a video and want to show it a bit. And there are 10 videos here. It will take some time. I think Evgeny can join in there, and anyone else as well. Let's do it. Yes, and in these 10 videos we will reach the stage of how this toilet is built, which 50% of people drop out from. There is a lot that will help us understand. The first video is very short. What's the point? Here we begin. There is this jerkiness. It has been there since the very beginning of the game. I have repeatedly noticed it, even the very first screen. I walked around a bit slightly. The recording is from an iPhone 12, not the newest model, and there is this jitter. If it occurs on iOS, I assume it could also be present on Android, but I haven't tested it. But I paid very close attention to this. Essentially, the first thing a player sees is the first screen. Accordingly, this particular moment in time is starting to become somewhat disappointing and disheartening in the overall process, as it fails to meet the expectations that were initially set. Accordingly, as we proceed to moment number 1, moment number 2, moving further to the next significant moment, here it is. Here I probably want to add that we can press the button of this compass and it will move us to the goal. I would, when we move to the target, change the compass button to a player icon, so that you could press it and move to the player. The reason for this is that it is possible for you to become somewhat confused or uncertain about the situation. Further, it will soon be more interesting. Here is a very brief overview of what I wanted to show. We can indeed step inside, we can actually step outside, and a person has been here for quite a long time, but the money was still not all spent. In fact, it was not even close. Well, to be completely honest, I would definitely speed up this entire process just a little bit because, to be more specific, we came in, he is standing there, and they are somehow spending an unusually long time. In my opinion, I would certainly do it much faster. Because here, the player is just waiting, observing the surroundings, and anticipating the next move. Next, there will be more exciting elements and challenges to come later. Now we have revealed the first important game mechanic, which is crucial for understanding the gameplay. Let's go. I wanted to show that, firstly, you can simply change this strip with your finger, and it changes. The slider is accessible by finger. I'll show it again. Now it's 39, you can just run your fingers over it. Essentially, it's basically a cosmetic bug, so to speak, but nevertheless, there is, in fact, such a moment.
I plan to handle it differently. There is an achievement system, and I plan to make it so that for such an action it would be like, hey player, what are you doing? You can't do that.
Well, if that's the case, okay, it will be fun, yes. At the moment, it just looks like a micro bug. Let's move on.
Before this, I wanted to ask, from the very beginning of the previous video, I honestly felt that the construction of the gas station indeed lacked a wow effect. I have to say it was somewhat disappointing. Here is 2-1-0, bang, but something is definitely missing, but something is absolutely missing, but something is definitely missing, something beautiful.
Well, maybe it was built very quickly. So it was built. We spent the money. It was built quickly. We were given 3 stars very quickly. And the camera immediately throws us sharply to the next target.
Well, you can try to make it so that the elements it consists of appear separately. First the base comes out, then the columns, and finally the refueling station itself. Maybe.
Maybe give this moment more time. We haven't even had the chance to celebrate that we built the gas station. Go back to work. Let's continue working. Again, at this particular moment in time, this moment, which is being built quite slowly and meticulously in my understanding, And here is that twitchiness again. It is really there. All the training is there. That is, let's say there is a hypothesis that this is twitchiness.
Are you sure it's the brakes? Maybe it's just...
No, it was like it wasn't during the recording. It was without recording.
No, I mean that it might not be the game lagging. Maybe it's just the camera moving jerkily.
Oh, perhaps it is a shaky camera.
It's most likely the game that's probably lagging. Do you think it's a bit lagging?
No, I think the issue here is with the code and how the camera moves. I agree with Zhenya. We need to see how this is happening in your code.
I recently debugged and analyzed it. These are exactly the moments related to frames per second, FPS. Well, I am gradually solving it. I thought this problem was much less pronounced, even though I tried testing it on weak devices. Apparently it varies, sometimes better, sometimes worse.
Well, accordingly, the next short video is definitely very much worthwhile to show. Now let's see. Most likely it's another moment of twitchiness, I feel. So I enter the game, and immediately, as soon as I enter the game, there's this jerkiness again. Once again, all these videos, I can send them all. The most interesting thing is that I have 8 videos, but I even marked one specifically. This one is a bit longer. So I came back and we are going again. Accordingly, we are going to the mechanics here. You can go for a walk. And you can also go for a walk with, next there will be a column. Yes, it turns red. Let's say I went the wrong way, but if I return, I can't do anything. Until I restart the game does not work. And the same goes for the column at the training stage. That is, it is definitely already a bug in the mechanics. If here we can simply change the strip, it doesn't affect anything. Here we need to restart the game. And perhaps someone went somewhere with this to potentially take a walk. And because of this, people might potentially leave. Moving on. Yes, that's right, we remember. The first car arrives, the camera quickly jerks. So what we were talking about, okay, what's the idea here? Here I come. Perhaps at this very moment, it is worth making a significantly larger area from which one can easily take, in this particular case, the blue gun specifically. That is indeed, it's still certainly and undoubtedly doubtful with the pistol, but here is the red pistol. But that is, when you approach the car, I would make the contact area a bit larger because it is clear here. We are approaching, and I am quite close, a little more. Here I also get quite close, meaning you have to be right next to it. This means that the proximity required is very tight, and you must be almost touching it. There is a very small area where you can actually place the gun. This area is so limited that it requires precise positioning to ensure the gun is placed correctly.
The biggest problem for me, in my opinion, is that it's not very clear what needs to be divided into red and blue. For example, I understood it there and also in the 8th, 9th minute of the game, and at that moment I think that approximately 30% of the people had already dropped out. At that moment, I truly understood everything already.
I agree, there is indeed such a point.
Yes, but that's exactly why we checked all the values. Plus, there is a mechanism that shows if you insert the wrong hose, it indicates that it's not the right one with a characteristic vibration and sound, signaling to take another one. And we thought for a long time about how exactly to make this feature more understandable for the player, but we couldn't come up with any optimal, effective, and comprehensive solution. And completely removing this function and leaving only the hose seemed like it was indeed quite a bit of an oversimplification.
May I quickly add something? One option, I think, is to make the blue and this orange color much more contrasting, because right now they don't seem to differ much in contrast. Maybe the button is just red, like on-off, without a clear contrast that these are different. Plus, clearly these columns are obviously the same color as this red button, and they can also blend purely on an absolutely emotional level, undoubtedly.
Yes, and upwards too. You can highlight the arrow in various colors and patterns. You can make the arrow appear on the screen in different styles, sizes, and animations. For example, I had the idea that the first 2 machines you made were only constructed with one blue component. Then you made an improvement, you added a red component, and that means something significant. This improvement indicates a step forward in the design process. What specific actions need to be taken next to continue this progress and ensure further enhancements?
It is clear that the player does not understand that the screens are different. When you approach the machine, what do? You take some crane, the machine arrives, you take the crane, approach it, and it does not fit. At that moment, when he comes up and tries to insert it, but it doesn't go in, you should actually say it's the wrong gasoline. Blink widely and say it's diesel. It's dangerous.
Well, here where the hint is, you can do it with text.
It should be right in the center, right on this car. When the player clicks there, something like, there is no gasoline, or the diesel is not suitable, should be written. Something big, flashing, clearly indicating that something is wrong.
What if, here's a question, what if we do it with letters instead of flowers, for example? There is petrol, which in English is actually gasoline, and there is diesel.
You can draw with other people on both the left side and the right side. But the main point here is that you need to clearly show him with this flashing light that he approached with the wrong crane.
Yes, this is indeed the topic. But the exact moment when the player actually makes a mistake, in my opinion, is not that difficult.
It will be now, we will check.
Okay.
Oh, like that?
No, it looks like an arrow, something.
Well, yes.
It's like just weak.
Yes, I will take note with an inscription.
Here, accordingly, this 8th one, I specifically noted that this particular entry was key. Let's check now. Accordingly, yes, he filled it out. Again, it's just hard to take it because the area is small. So, I took it. The next car is arriving. I collected the money there, took the red gun, it was nearby, and I slowly approached, loaded it carefully, returned it again, and then returned it again. I took the money again, and I got an achievement. First of all, I remember the first gaming session. It wasn't saved as a video on my phone, but I clicked on the achievement, and I didn't even see the achievement. An interstitial popped up. I understand that, look, you have interstitials appearing every 2.5 minutes, basically at regular intervals, firstly during the learning process, and secondly, they appear right during gameplay. They do not appear during the transition between screens, but they may appear during the gameplay. I will record it if I am correct. So, then I go somewhere. It seems like now, yes. Let's see. Oh, a car. Let's definitely go to the car. A very important moment. The first machine is free for you. There are 2 moments here. One video is missing. It says 3 minutes. It says 3 minutes. We press to receive the reward, we get 1 minute. This is simply, to put it mildly, a clear deception of the player in the game. Period. 2. When I played for the first time, besides getting that minute, I got an ad that seemed skippable, but while I was skipping it, I don't know, Oleg, what you have there, who you are showing it to, but I was skipping it for 30 seconds. I closed the ad, and half of my time was just wasted. And I was like, thanks. Here, we will probably already be thinking about deleting it, most likely.
At first, in the beginning, I wrote a lot of logic specifically based on time and position. And now I am slowly and steadily detaching from all of that and transitioning to using a second timer and gradually reducing the time. That is, without comparing dates. This remark might also be useful to someone. If you are recording the start of some effect during the daytime, it is generally speaking better not to do so. In general, such moments will wait.
I will repeat. I don't know how Denis did it to display it there, but I will show it with the mouse. So, 3 minutes. You are given 3 minutes here. We press the button to receive, and we get a minute. This is the first moment. The second moment here may seem like an advertisement that simply disrupts the entire logic of this booster. I mean, as one of the potential solutions, let the advertisement potentially pause the game completely so that, at the very least, the booster does not run. Yes, Denis, do you want to add anything?
No, I'm just actually really leading you on.
Yes. So that moment was indeed quite something. I remember it very well because I distinctly remember I received my first booster in a minute. I didn't pay attention to it the first time, but then I got a second booster for the advertisement, and they gave me 3 minutes. I think there's something strange. Something doesn't add up in this picture.
Vlad is right. I also occasionally, indeed actually, came across rewarded ads being shown on interstitial placement, sometimes, which was approximately 30 there, plus seconds. Yes, and I think it was Vangal. Well, the elevator systems, we need to check that.
Well, as far as I remember, during that first session, I think there was probably an interstitial, but it just probably closed 3 times. So I waited 5 seconds once, closed it, then waited 5-10 seconds twice, closed it, and waited 5-10 seconds 3 times, closed it. This was on ESP at least.
I had them. I thought that it wasn't a cast and that sometimes there's just an error with the placement ID where they insert rewards instead of interstitial, and it would still work there because the principle of calls is almost the same. But if it's a cast, then we need to write to have it checked.
Most likely what I believe I can recommend is simply writing to the support manager, yes, to suggest that it would be best to disable the playables entirely in this particular game. No, there are absolutely no playables there.
There are no plebes and no end cards. It just shows rewarded replan on essentially, basically, roughly speaking, unity and interstitial.
There was once a very extremely complicated and abstract idea. I also wrote to support, but indeed without much resolution. There was an idea whether it is possible to, in a certain manner, programmatically implement a function that disables certain networks when we want to show the player a brief intermission at this very moment. So, when we know that we want it to be concise and brief to increase retention and understanding, roughly speaking, in general, that is, if a person was allowed 15 minutes somewhere, then after 15 minutes it's all over for them, and the first 15 minutes only the one that closes in 5 seconds.
Everyone closes from 5 to 7 seconds depending on the advertising network. So how does it close? A button appears.
The map then suddenly appears, and then...
Yes, but practically all networks already have end cards, and end cards allow advertising networks to increase conversion, such as... Accordingly, when we ask them to turn off end cards, we see a loss either in domain or in money, or in some cases revenue. Therefore, unfortunately, it is not recommended to disable end cards in general.
Well, let's say, to come up with, yes, a sort of short waterfall from the hypothetical EdMob, which is an intriguing and fascinating concept.
No, it doesn't make sense here. If it's just for training, you absolutely don't need to advertise at all. You can offer, for instance, a machine for free and boots for free, well, things like that, and so on.
Well, first there's a free speed boost that lasts for a minute, and during the training there are no ads. As soon as the training ends, ads may start immediately, but there's a slight delay of 30 seconds after completion.
There is no point in fighting, searching, or seeking out at all in any way.
I think yes. I believe that this will not solve the problems that need to be addressed first and foremost. In my opinion, it is important to note that I have 2 more videos left to review. Yes, Oleg?
It seems to me that the main problem, the reason why the players do not get it, is that they do not understand the nuances. What is it? This is my letter.
I added methods for this to provide a detailed analysis and tracked all players who specifically inserted the wrong hose to ensure accuracy in the process. It used to be a very big problem, but these measures were taken to prevent future issues. After I added the arrow after the wrong hose, I don't remember any person who dropped out like that. Then after I added this arrow after the wrong hose, I don't remember any player who dropped out like that, meaning I sometimes selectively, and then I added this arrow after the wrong hose, review all the actions of all users, randomly, and specifically the behavior where they leave after the wrong hole. There is very little of that. That's why I took this special focus. It can be frustrating overall, I think, but specifically when you insert it incorrectly, damn, and exit in the next 30 seconds.
Vitya, the problem is not in this. The problem is actually to make the user think that it is some kind of glitch. He put it back in place, took another hose and pulled. And he will do this 2-3 times, but the game in his head is already buggy. Maybe, yes.
We should highlight the areas where the hose is taken. So, there is also such a moment. Well, now we are essentially moving to the moment of the upgrade to the second level. So, here it goes, we added fuel, and by the way, the moment was clearly visible. So, this thing appears, and the game froze again. Then we keep running. And by the way, another moment is that apparently this color and that color are quite different. It's clearly visible. So once again, speaking of colors, I recommend making the color of the pistol match and the columns a different color so they do not distract. So, yes, this moment. Here, I actually selected red. Here, I basically selected red. This is all the player sees. If we forget about the vibration and sounds, if a person plays without sound, I'll show it again right now. That is what it looks like in the game. So again, by the way, the car is red. Why not take the red one, right? It is more visible than the icon. They took a red gun. We come here. An arrow simply appears. Okay. Well, as far as I remember, with the arrow, correct me if I'm wrong, first you need to come here, and only then here. Therefore, the arrow, it turns out, is incorrect in guiding us.
Yes. By the way, also, this is a topic.
All right, so here is what happened. We finally figured everything out. After some consideration, we decided to take the blue one. We carefully set it up, making sure everything was in place and ready to go. You can still take the red one, yes. There is already a free machine here. So I choose to close it. By the way, the money was spent much faster here, as far as I can see. Yes, so I definitely got caught up again indeed, all right, as I can tell.
Stop, by the way. It was a good moment. Don't let them take the second thing. Took it after the first one.
The idea was that there is currently one existing column, but when there are many columns, it would indeed be nice to add more.
Or maybe perhaps your car can come from that side too.
No, that means it can't, but you can take the hose and insert it into another car, for example.
By the way, I agree with the guys because I was just walking and I was just going to get the hose. I had to walk straight past the gun, but I didn't intend to take it. I had no desire to take it, I was simply just walking by. I was simply merely passing by. Accordingly, I took it. Yes, okay, I am indeed taking the last of this money that I need. I have a level up. I press to collect the reward. It points me to the toilet, but nothing happens. The camera jumped a bit, I went, and here is my advertisement. So, it's just in the game process. That means it can be closed, basically, essentially. So, I closed it once, I guess I missed, okay. I suppose I closed it again, so... I think I closed it again, so...
You didn't miss, if that's what you're wondering. I can certainly tell you right away how to create this advertisement so that it doesn't appear like that, and where to find the window after which to show this advertisement. Definitely.
When the level increases, it should appear at once. To achieve this, it needs to be loaded first. I believe that your advertisement is loading at the moment. That is, simultaneously and most likely.
No, this is implemented at the SDK level. The advertisement is always loaded. I mean, it is already there after 10 seconds.
Ah, okay.
There's some kind of timer in the game, yes, that shows an advertisement with someone's text.
Yes, I didn't understand that.
You shouldn't do that, like, I don't know, Google might remove you. I didn't really understand the details, Maybe I think,
Wait a moment, look, here's the problem. As I walked straight like this, the camera started jumping over there after we reached the second level. I am just walking, I have gameplay, my gameplay is interrupted. And that is just prohibited. In this process, I receive a gameplay video. As Zhenya says, this is indeed prohibited. That is, you cannot show any ads, interstitial, or reward during the gameplay. You should have some kind of pause. For example, here is an absolutely perfect pause like the one you had a few seconds ago. Here is the level up. You simply have the option to indeed triple the reward. Here, press to earn a reward. You press this button and immediately show the interstitial if it has not doubled.
Yes, there's this event. Apparently this event doesn't exist. It's one of the potential events. There's also a timer, and this is a small bug that we are going to fix now. The first inter goes without a timer, then a 3-second timer appears in the middle of the screen, indicating that an inter advertisement is coming up soon, in the near future.
But it is not exactly right in front, it is on top of it. And what the guys are talking about, why Google might start getting upset, they punish such things, which leads to accidental clicks. Well, users actually start clicking on the advertisement because they do not expect it. I saw an implementation where they just give a pop-up, and there they do a 3-2-1 advertisement. Essentially,
I think it's probably the same, just not at the first showing, if I understand correctly, I believe.
There are no pop-ups here, just...
Yes, I know, but the point is that we do it this way, in theory, because during the game there is no window that we would actually want to close, right? Essentially...
It is not necessary to have a window.
But it is here, it's just not visible at first. The funny thing is, to be really, really honest, we kind of missed the most important thing. We don't actually have idle. So everything we've been looking at now, there's no idle. That is indeed, we are uncovering and discovering some locations and places. We are actually moving some things back and forth to and fro, but we don't have an incremental game. That is, essentially, even when you have a second gas station open, in fact, your revenue does not actually increase, but your amount of work and effort does. When you open toilets, the number of places you run to increases, the amount of work increases, but the amount of money does not grow.
Yes, this is definitely a genre, so it's not a tycoon, but rather exactly. But the point is that, as I see it, in my opinion, the more of these chains you have, then essentially automation occurs, and after automation you already, increasingly, and then ultimately, inevitably, the process becomes boring as you are essentially running around collecting money. In this regard, it will become more pronounced later, but at first you are getting rich.
But it hasn't come to that yet. All your results have already fallen off.
Well, I didn't get there later either. Yes, look, you have this manager appearing there. He actually appears after the toilets, which is a bit too early, actually. Your leveling up should have been opened immediately. And after this first car, how does your progress start? You refuel the first car, and you level up. You get more money, you level up again, and then the second car arrives. So, of course, you will do the next refueling. Like, you are basically launching this I/O mechanics and essentially the reduction of money much earlier. Later, when you open new placements, you would put more money on them, but you would get the same money for these new placements as you did at the beginning. Well, it's like you're not just dealing with numbers, you would have already taken them earlier, but at the moment when this manager position opens up, the manager should actually hire an automator. And there you are, even with these toilets, it turns out that if you make a person run around cleaning toilets for a very long time, eventually no one will stay there at all. The 50 people who made it there will close because the game with the fuel attendant eventually turned into cleaning the toilets. It's extremely creepy, of course. That is, it was necessary to implement the automation of the toilets quickly and hire people right away. And also introduce the experimental component here. Plus, you would have it so that, look, when you refuel these cars, you refueled a car there, collected money, and leveled up. You have it so that the player themselves enters this window to level up. It's exactly after he just closes the window to continue playing that you have a great place for interns. You don't need artificial inventions, pauses, or gimmicks. Look, he closed the window and is swaying. And please, the internet is no problem for you. There is another thing I didn't like. It's that your gasoline runs out really very quickly at the pumps for some reason. I wanted to ask why. So I refuel a couple of cars and then I have to go refuel the tanker again. A couple more cars arrive and I have to go refuel the tanker again. Especially with the increase in refueling, it gets even faster. When there are 4 fuel pumps, you just keep running and refueling. And it's like you have to run far, and it's very boring. I'm telling you, over time, its level gradually increases, and accordingly, its volume becomes larger.
And that's probably why there's no automation with such a coworker, because otherwise you don't monitor it and just let it run on its own. But this way it forces you to keep in mind that, damn, the refueling station doesn't work without you.
10 cars probably, but like 10 cars, not 2, 3. A dozen cars need to be refueled, approximately, or so in total.
No, a dozen cars. Look, when you have 4 pumps, it's essentially 1 full refueling.
Well, exactly when you have 4 columns, you will upgrade it, meaning by that time you should have upgraded it.
At that point, I already had an upgraded tanker that couldn't be improved any further, and yet you still go there very often, because vehicles arrive quickly, gasoline. You need to build the progression differently there in a different way. You need to build something that allows you, in order to increase its volume, either in a day or somehow else in some way, but definitely do not leave it as it is now.
Yes, the plan is to slightly increase its volume at the steps, and the nearest features currently in development include the advertisement and the guy who will be filling it. Double it, not just a little, and compare slightly.
Yes, of course, yes. I mean, it should be significantly bigger so that it is definitely difficult for you to actually run there, but you don't run there constantly, definitely. Well, it was stressful to go far, stressful to run repeatedly, but it's after some floor. And still, people will continue to level up because even if you have to run there every 5 minutes, why not? Well, it's like, okay, I will do it anyway.
I would also add that I would display its capacity not only in the place where it stands, but also somehow on the game part. Because you only know that the tanker is running out of gasoline if you have to run over there in order to check the fact that it is running out. And the screen on which the user definitely moves is significantly much larger in size than the phone screen. And essentially, you basically need approximately 3 to 4 screens just in order to check how much is remaining. And I would approximately place his progress bar somewhere around where the compass is. I mean, I'll draw it at this very moment. Somewhere around here I would make a circle with the letter tank. I would somehow play around with it. With the icon and how it changes as it is consumed. When it, for example, starts to reach this division, meaning it is running out, it begins to blink. And you can, conditionally, if a person doesn't want to run, they can tap and an advertisement will fill in for them like this.
By the way, here's another place for advertising. I should also add that, as if, because you have to run around and spend some time on gasoline, cleaning the toilets becomes faster. You come, clean, get paid, come, clean. You really end up. At this stage, it's not currently a gas station simulator, but essentially, in fact, more like a toilet cleaner simulation, essentially. But regarding the issue with the restrooms, which personally raises questions for me, I reached the 2nd level, so why do I still have a lock? I really seriously can't completely understand why it has a lock on it. They actually showed it to me. I just stand here and absolutely nothing actually happens. I'm like, seriously, what should I do? So this moment, that is once again the moment of obtaining the level, right? How does it happen? We obtained the level. We tapped. Our camera flew by in a second at that time. It's unclear where to go. All right, I'm at level 2. The toilets should be open. I'm heading to the toilets. And nothing is opening now, accordingly, in the next one, that is this moment. That is, by the way, there could be a lot of dumps here, in general, until they open them. Yes, this is the topic.
There should be a level for carefully opening the toilet and just move it slightly a little bit. Yes, that's exactly what you need. I recently, just a few days ago, changed the order of openings, and this unexpected and frustrating bug appeared.
By the way, I actually really expected that from the toilet, that I would open them and get some kind of passive income from them. Like I would buy them and go there. In fact, I really would. And I really didn't expect that I would have to clean them up, because I still didn't have enough time for the refueling game. You started sending me somewhere, and I didn't properly refuel the cars yet.
Yes, by the way, there is such a thing.
I didn't expect that something would guide me. I thought I would be refueling cars and pumping something up. Refueling cars and pumping something up. This will be the guider, and then something will open up later. And what will be revealed will automatically be related to some significant income. Someone is doing something. And here it turned out that I'm absolutely fed up with everything everywhere. I'm telling you, it's a hit. It is needed to send someone to clean the toilets once, and after that, the manager needs to hire staff who will regularly clean.
Victor, I have a question. Have you tried making not 2 hoses but 4, like at a real gas station? For example, depending on which car pulls up, there are essentially 2 models, or rather 1 model in different colors. If I saw correctly, there's another model, a sporty one that parks nearby, and I think there's yet another different model that also parks in the parking lot but doesn't pull up.
There are currently 2 models. One is basic and colorful, and the other is a sports car that just gives some kind of X from payball. That is...
Well, I understand, like a VIP client, right, it's called?
Yes. At some point we made many different machines, but it became very overwhelming in terms of... You see, they are all very different and attract a lot of attention. We couldn't just take a few basic cars. In the end, we decided to keep 1 car for now with several colors.
If we are talking about idle mechanics, what Evgeny is saying is that something is missing in this gas station. Is it true that you mentioned this, that you immediately added 3 mechanics so that the user wouldn't get bored? But it seems to me that it would be more correct to play it out, that is, when essentially a gas station is being built, so that it looks cool, for example, and it also has levels. And cars would approach as they do now, let's say, for example, from this side and that side, and then when you can add another section, so you at the present time have 2 different sections, let's say this part moves here, and now 4 cars can be refueled. These cars are different, and depending on the type of car, you use different nozzles. For example, a sports car needs 98 octane gasoline, more standard cars need 95, and let's add a model of an SUV that is refueled with diesel, something like that. At first you play as a refueler, and when you go to build the toilet is an additional mechanic. For example, you don't need to clean it constantly. You need to set a timer, let's say, for 6 people to pass through, or 2 for each part, so you have a game about being a refueler. You refuel, and when there is a pause in orders, you go to clean the toilet. In general, this is how the game works, and it provides a unique experience. And in all idle games, you always basically have the concept of queues with timing. So, the user is waiting for an order, for example, but they have a waiting timer. And if they don't wait, they leave disappointed, meaning you didn't make any money. This is the idea of idle, so you can serve faster. In the end, indeed, you come to the point where, for instance, when another part of the refueling station opens, you can already actually hire automation here. That is, a guy will be running around and inserting the nozzles into the cars. And you upgrade him for money so that he, for example, moves faster. He can take not 1 pistol but 2 pistols and go insert them, you understand? That is, to play with the refueling mechanic, because you play with refueling here before the appearance of the toilet, and then you play as a prisoner of the toilet. And when a store appears, you already play as a seller, because essentially as soon as the store appears, you cannot leave the store. Customers are coming in, you need to constantly restock the shelves and stay at the cashier, because hiring a cashier costs 1,500. When opening the store and fully stocking it, if you don't take any rewards into account, you are left with, I think, 200 or 300 in hand, and you can slightly upgrade your character.
By the way, I must say I completely forgot to bring up that I was regularly hit by cars parking there. The first time it was funny. However, after that, it just started to really piss me off.
This is a controversial point. It's kind of a cool feature, but it clearly annoys some people. How do you find a balance? It's difficult.
I would add...
Once and for all?
No. I would add a timer. You know, like in the old arcades, when you take damage, your character starts blinking, and for the first 3 seconds, he is invincible. Or 4 seconds, if you remember.
Well, in my understanding, monetization can be added to this right away.
And in the second part, yes, I wanted to add a point, for example, to add perks. For a while, when cars collide into you and explode, you kind of become the Hulk, in a way, you know.
I would think in a completely different direction. I would buy insurance so that when a car hits you, you get money right away.
You can move sideways. That is, point monetization is evident. I even have 2 points about this screen as well. That is, tasks have already appeared, but they appeared so unnoticed that you essentially don't even see or essentially know about them, although there are essentially short-term goals for the player. The second point, again about idle. Is it necessary to highlight how much money is here, or do you think there is not much point in it?
No, you are taking them anyway. It doesn't matter to you whether there are 50 or 100. The point that Zhenya correctly raised is that this game is no longer about refueling. About everything in the world, but not about refueling. That is, refueling is present there, but to a lesser extent. And I would, if I wasn't already working on it, well, if you don't want to significantly redesign this game, then for the next one, I would focus on the refueling mechanics. Especially since you already have everything ready, as you said, reworked, I would focus on the refueling mechanics and build everything around it and play.
So, by the way, in this video, I think the toilet should open here, if I'm not mistaken. Some moment has already passed here, yes. That is in my opinion. I think I definitely upgraded the column, which was necessary, the tanker. Yes, that is, we need to run and run. Let me remember what. It was already here. Yes, that is, we need to run only now. We ran. Accordingly, we added. By the way, I just simply walk around the car because I really don't want to get into it.
Yes. And why do we actually have one column for gasoline, or rather petroleum gasoline, when we have 2 types of refueling? You see?
Well, this is, in essence, a simplification. Basically, that's all.
To avoid running, forgot the second.
Yes, Prob.
So I was knocked down. Somehow I was knocked down, yes, and shown to the toilet. Ah, because I got some money. I see. At least there's a story here. I see. Yes. So yes, I am definitely, absolutely, without a doubt, indeed going.
Hey, Vlad, can you please later go back to the exact moment when you were hit and the toilet appeared?
Here's the moment I wanted to show. What was the pop-up advertisement? No, well, yes, I mean, it wasn't just a pop-up. I didn't have time to look there. And then the advertisement popped up. And of course, it was indeed very astonishing, truly surprising. Another time, indeed.
It seems there is actually a restriction that it doesn't basically display while the pop-up is open, but your timing was such that the timer started just a second before you essentially opened it.
In general, the timer can actually do a lot more. So Denis, when should we take a break right now?
Right before it shows you getting hit, I'll tell you exactly when to press pause.
Earlier, later?
Now, more. No, more. Later? Before the safe appears, the safe just has to appear there.
Oh, I got knocked down.
Now, right now, in front of you is the restroom toilet and also a safe. Look, stop. See here, you have access to this secure safe when it spins around completely. At this precise moment of spinning, it is without any money inside. And only when he turns to face the user, at that moment, he has money in his possession, and he has money. First, he would carefully and meticulously sprinkle it so that there would definitely be golden coins, shiny banknotes, and glittering bars lying around here. He often wonders how much actual money he can possibly get from there. Or if you don't want to draw under this icon, I understand it takes a lot of time, then just surround it with a huge pile of money.
There were options available to simply change the animation styles or effects. Now he is spinning, and you can see him bobbing on the waves, always making sure the monetary side is visible.
Well, Vlad, can you rewind a little bit to the moment he appeared? Look, right there, see, it's completely empty. That is, it will also be empty for some time, and it will be unclear what it is. Microwave, or safe, or something like that. Well, it's better if the icon itself, the unit itself, looks like that. I understand that it's hard to come up with something, but at least surround it with money. Something like that.
So, accordingly, indeed, this was my last video, which I hadn't added yet, but now I have. There's also a noteworthy moment, again, purely emotional. So to speak, when I took the cart, it seemed to have a very loud and very monotonous sound, almost like a constant drone. But mainly think volume of moving on started bother me after, while becoming quite irritating. That is drowned out rest game, making hard focus, anything else. It was always driving same repetitive noise, really stuck with leaving lasting impression.
We will play with this. We have tried to decrease and increase it several times. If we decrease it too much, there is no effect of feeling like you are riding something. We are looking for that golden mean, yes.
Is there really a difference between maps and 7-league boots? Or not exactly?
Only visually. The theme with karting, I tend to forget these previous collisions, as they wanted to make it so that when you got the karting, you could run over the visitors yourself. This was intended to create a more immersive and interactive experience for the participants.
Pure GTA indeed begins. As for the visitors, yours are very, very dull, truly indeed. In the literal sense of the word. That is, add some. I'm sure that Unity already has these ready-made skins, like girls with braids, boys in some kind of hats. Well, that is, some already ready-made.
Yes, indeed, this is also in the process of some particular and various specific clothing items.
And don't do it there simply for advertising or for anything else, just add it, and just do it. Although something is needed, it is not critical right now, but the store is empty. However, I think it is still too early for you to reach the store because users generally have not yet reached it.
Well, yes. So up to this point, 50% of the players get there, which means that a lot needs to be done up to this point, and we have talked about quite a lot. About the tasks, it seems that something has appeared, but this window is barely visible. I don't know, it's somewhat doubtful how it is visible.
There, I also watched a really fascinating and truly interesting instance before the very beginning. The instance when it opens, to draw it out by folder, like wow. Look, you have indeed very cool tasks, and then to open them.
You don't have to use folders. You can do it this way in a more organized manner. So it will be text when it appears here, and you can write some kind of inscription. Well, it's not just about adding an exclamation mark here, but essentially making it into text like check your tasks, something in that form, in essence.
Yes, precisely, with a delightful sign, but the idea was that it lights up when you can receive the first reward. The idea was that he did something, he got an exclamation mark, he went in and was like, oh cool, he got something there, and then continued watching. But the fact that this needs to be highlighted, yes, it is.
The first reward should always make an appearance at the moment of completing the bullet task, such as when you reach level 2 upon receiving a task notebook, or perhaps even a task tablet. That's it. Immediately.
We can now track when it appears at specific times and in different situations, plus minus. But it appears after the tutorial, I think. Well, I considered all of this as part of the tutorial, probably. And here it will be, yes. But it is not here yet. So, if we scroll through now, the next part is still not marked. and maybe it won't be visible there. But no, most likely it will be yes. It's definitely not completely clear why this appeared as a button. So, we open the second refueling station, and we reach the second level. I don't know, just add a tasks icon here, display it somehow as an option, maybe something like available tasks or something else. Yes, of course.
You know, what they also do is they actually conditionally segregate this part, well, now together with the money, like this, for example, they just make this part a bit smaller, rework the icon, and below it, they draw what else has been added. For example, at this level, what perks he received, what opportunities there were. For instance, here under the free button, draw exactly same icon with a notebook. I don't know, some new perk if he gets one, and all that.
Well, the toilet is added in the process of this.
Arrange it like this. Here is where your rewards end, and here is where they begin.
Yes, something similar has indeed been done at Uplis Castle. Technically, it is actually a bit more complicated, so it has been postponed for now, but yes, it is.
Like this? Understood, right? Just like that?
Yes.
You display with icons.
No, actually what Denis is saying, that is, to reduce the size of the reward, add just one more line. I think it shouldn't be very difficult.
It's not about that, it's more about tracking functionality and also their icons, because we don't want to do it just for daily tasks, but rather we want to do it for several functionalities, for zones and so on.
Well, you can just give the 7 league boots, not on the first level, but on the second level, indeed, which is more appropriate. Well, just add that 7 league boots appear, and I don't know what else probably appears on the second level, and like something will definitely open up.
So tasks are open, toilets. No, the manager is not on the second.
I mean that, no, there is a manager on the second floor, but I mean that you can hire someone for the gas station. What?
It seems to be later already. No, later.
All right. Even if you show 3 icons, and on the next level 3 more, it's not a big deal. The main thing is to display the benefit.
Well, in terms of tracking, you don't really need to add anything. You already have level tracking and tracking of how many reach the toilets. You just add this functionality, roll it out, and compare. Did it give a result or not, for example? That's basically all from my side. I can look around further if anything is needed regarding the video or the screen. Anything else to add, colleagues?
That's all I have, Zhenya. Maybe you have it too, indeed.
I have generally said everything, but I still think it is very important indeed, in my opinion, to restore this normal idle cycle. Something was being improved there, but in the end, nothing. Usually everyone still does it this way just because. You ran around with one car, with your favorite car, enhanced its performance, and you got even more money. So now, you can build all these amounts. Automation should be introduced much earlier because it gives the player engagement. Right now, the player doesn't understand what's going to happen, but with automation, they realize, oh, I will earn more money and hire staff. However, this isn't shown to them within the first 10 minutes.
I can say that if I were you, I wouldn't bother with this, as you have already received the metrics and have all the necessary materials. You roughly understand your audience, so I would create a new bundle and focus more on what I mentioned earlier, how to refuel cars at the beginning. Because you took the time to observe and analyze how different users react and respond to the toilet in various situations and contexts. You didn't reach the store, so there's no point in either upgrading or improving it now, at this moment. The user is not actually reaching there, and trying specifically because of the new bundle, you don't have many users here. You can indeed even create some kind of pop-up to redirect the audience there, but the conversion is not very high. Nevertheless, it is actually there, and then you basically need to try and visually represent it so that it does not look, like a thesis project after a Unity developer course. I sincerely apologize for saying it this way, but it looks like this because with such mechanics, you could have entered in 2017 and 2018 with visuals when you didn't have as many competitors, which was a different scenario. As you correctly said, even if you look at what Supersan and Say Games are doing, they are enriching the game, including visually and more. And you can even look at smaller examples, for instance, like this sawmill, where the dude works in the cold winter season. So, visual content has appeared, and this needs to be taken into account. That is, the user did not just start from simple forms. This form needs to be slightly complicated and filled. If you do this, I think it will improve for you. You already have a very good D1, I would say. This indeed means that the user is interested in the topic of refueling. This is the first thing that should be understood. But why is he falling so dramatically, you see? Because he is not actually playing refueling. Let him indeed play refueling. See what happens.
Thank you very much. A lot of good things have been said, a lot of remarks. We will take everything into account.
Well, on this wonderful note, we will definitely say goodbye. I will say that the game has potential, the game has a good location, so it just needs to be refined further and turned into candy.
It's not the game, but the game's location that is good.
At the concept, yes. At the concept. That's all, friends. Thank you. Viewers, don't forget to subscribe, like, and ask questions.